Hey, welcome back. I got a good question here. Somebody says, well, you keep talking about giving everything to Jesus Christ. You want Jesus to have everything, get rid of yourself, get rid of your pride, and all goes to Christ. Well, does that mean you lose all your personality, your characteristics? You don't have any more identity. You're not you anymore. And does that carry over into heaven? So we'll all go up to heaven. We'll be disembodied spirits. We'll just be one massive mindless group of clones. Is that true? No, not at all. I'm glad to tell you, one thing that I find out as I read the scriptures is you have no idea on what's going to be coming whenever you get in heaven. As a matter of fact, 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 9 tell us this, that the eye has not seen nor the ear heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man, the things that God has prepared for those that love him. Verse 10 tells us we get some hints, so we can look at these hints right now. All right, when we're saying we're going to heaven and we're all Christians, we are identified with Christ, we are with him, do we lose our personality? And what does the Bible say? Well, Luke chapter 9 and verse 30. You can also read the corresponding passage over in Matthew 17. Jesus comes down in what is known as the Mount of Transfiguration. He's going to show Peter, James, and John just like a splinter of his glory, just a bit of his glory, and it's enough to strike them down. Now, during that scene in Matthew 17 and Luke chapter 9, you see that Moses and Elijah come down out of heaven and they're appearing next to Christ. Peter identifies them. See, there's an identification there. He doesn't say, who are these spirits that are just floating around you? They're recognized as people. Peter, James, and John didn't run away confused, and he even names them as well. They have identities. As a matter of fact, Luke 9 and verse 30 says they appeared in glorious splendor, which lends us to understand when we look at Philippians chapter 3 and verse 21, it tells us when we are in heaven, we will take this lowly body and will be made so much better into that glorious likeness of Christ, and it'll be so much better. The curse is gone, Revelation chapter 22 and verse 13. When we take a look in Matthew chapter 8 and verse 11, Jesus himself says, in heaven, you'll sit down to eat. You'll recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're known by their names. They're known by their identity. And as I reminded you in one of our other videos, they're family. That's father, son, and grandson. Families recognize one another. We'll recognize them there. They'll have personalities. They'll have characteristics. They'll have stories. They'll have talents. And just as we see in Revelation chapter 22 and verse 4, we will serve the Lord with the abilities that we have, and that's the same word as the word worship. So those stand out very strongly. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12, Paul himself says, in heaven, I will be known as much as I know. So people will recognize us. Oh, sure. You'll have your personality. You'll have your characteristics and those great talents that you have on earth. The curse is no longer there to hinder you with fatigue or other distractions, and you're able to serve the Lord and be recognized for that. Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. Everyone is together celebrating, but they still have the characteristics of their nation, their races, their tongues, their tribes. They're distinct, but it's in a unity. We remind ourselves, Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 10, all are brought together, the unity of Christ. Now, if I'm going to challenge you to read a wonderful passage, go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Start about verse 35 and finish out the chapter, and you're going to see this. The question comes to Paul, what about this resurrected body stuff? And he really answers this question we're talking about now when he brings this to truth. He says this, if you want to compare this body, which is sown in corruption and is raised in incorruption, and it is raised in power, he says this, take a seed, stand in front of an oak tree with this seedling. Go in front of a Sierra tree, and you are holding a sequoia tree, and you're going to hold this small seed. Now take a look. That's a sequoia seed. That's a sequoia. As you know, in Northern California, the tallest trees in the world. That is you right now on this earth. That is you in heaven. Do you see the difference? Boy, when this first came to my realization when I was reading this, even the difference between a rose seed and a beautiful set of double knockout roses, or just a handful of seeds and a meadow of daisies, but especially when we talk about the trees and the glory of the forest in these individuals. That's the difference between you right now and then. Do you get the difference? Will we be disembodied spirits, boring, walking around, a lazy and just a nondescript populace there? Oh, absolutely not. You will be more you in heaven than you are now. And with that, we'll learn how to glorify the Lord, befriend the Lord, love the Lord to the ultimate without any distractions here. Yes, there's going to be a great glory in heaven as we're with the Father and he brings us in, as it says in Revelation 21 and verse 3. He'll come to the new earth. He'll be with us. We'll be his children. We will be his family. He will be our God. Recognition, love, oh, by all means. You will have your identity. You will have your creativity. You will be recognized. Friends you've never met before. Family gatherings and a joyous love in a city that was personally created by God. God says in Isaiah 65 and verse 16, I made this residence to be a delight for you. Some wonderful truths here. We'll look at some more, but by all means, you will be a fantastic you in heaven. All you have to do is just understand this is the promise to Christians. I hope you know Christ as Savior. You've made a decision to follow him because the promises are absolutely incredible. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. More questions about heaven.